Welcome to Side by Side. Today we're going to be talking about young people as our context here. So if we can just do some introductions, and then Oliver's going to kind of set the scenes for us, and we'll kind of go from there. So let's start with you, because we're going to come back to you.
Well, yeah, as Alex said, I'm Oliver. I work at CPSL Mind with Britt. I'm part of a new smoking cessation team supporting people to stop smoking. I'm kind of in the research and evaluation side, trying to make sure our service best supports people as best as possible.
I'm Britt. I work for CPSL Mind as well. I am a Wellbeing and Recovery Worker. We are a post-crisis service, so we support individuals after they've been discharged from A&E, crisis services, inpatient units, and we support them for 6 weeks.
Nice.
Awesome. Then I'm Sam. So I work for Cambridge United Foundation. My role is a mental health officer. So I lead on a program called Mind Your Head, which is a key stage 3, sort of early stage mental health intervention program.
Nice, brilliant. So Oliver, you were going to set the scene for us. I saw your stats. You had a stat man.
Oh, no.
So,
yeah.
maybe you could lay of the land for us with regards to kind of what are we dealing with at a macro level here?
Yeah. So there's some good news, and part of the good news is in the last decade or so, we've been lots of organisations have been taking mental health much more seriously, particularly young people's mental health. And because of that, we have a huge amount of information about the kind of patterns we're seeing, which is really, really wonderful, so we can best know how to support. For example, Mind put out a big old report recently on mental health, very helpfully called Mind's Big Mental Health Report. And from there, we can just learn a lot. Less encouraging news, perhaps, is what those kind of patterns are showing. So from the NHS, we've seen since 2017, mental health problems for young people and children have almost doubled, from 1 in 9 in 2017 to 1 in 5 in 2023. And because of those big rise in cases, of course, we're seeing a huge number of referrals into the NHS, into mental health services for young people. So from 2016, about 40,000 every month, and now we're looking at about 120,000. And that's only been rising over 2025 and into 2026. Wow. So, yes, great news that we're looking into the patterns and really taking it seriously, but not necessarily fantastic news in what we're seeing.
So let's talk about we've got a couple of real examples on the sofa now. Talk about solutions that are kind of in your world. Maybe we can come back to looking at other solutions that we may think that may resolve something. Because the thing is, awareness is brilliant, right? Yep. Awareness gets you started, but also go, well, okay, we've got something to deal with here. Which I'm very happy that we're having this conversation. But maybe we can just learn a little bit more about what you're. Maybe you can start with yourself. Like, what are you seeing? What's your perspective on this?
I mean, I think especially the context of the individuals that I see, it's a post-crisis service, so we see them showing up with a really high level of need, a really, difficult presentations. So that's not necessarily representative of the entire population of young people's mental health challenges, but that is what we're seeing. And I think the most important thing is to meet that young person where they are and understand their needs, rather than trying to fit them into a box of a diagnosis or a label, and just really understand what their need is and what they want. And I think that often begins with them understanding, and I don't think they always know, and I think that often takes time. So I hear these young people say, I don't know what I need, I don't know what I want. So I often start with building a wellbeing plan with them, which is something that they can then go back to as sort of a framework for what they need on a day-to-day basis to keep them well. So that includes things like activities that help me stay calm, activities that help lift my mood. What do I need for connection? What do I need for my sleep routine? What is sleep hygiene? Which, a lot of these words they've not heard yet. So it's actually allowing them to sit down and reflect on, okay, what is it that I need? And that also, in turn, helps them build that skill of sitting down and reflecting, what do I need? And also, what do I not need? Because I think also, sometimes they can be around a lot of things that aren't helping them. So I think, often when I sit down with them to begin with, it's just really to start to trial and error a lot of the time. Does this work for you? Does it not? And if it doesn't, then we won't come back to it. But if it does, then let's put that into your wellbeing plan. And that is something that you can then come back to on a daily basis to then build this routine and this plan for yourself of, you know, these things that really support you.
In a language that they may well never been taught, which is great for me. It's
I know.
You know, why aren't we leaving school or you know with those toolkits in mind? And it's same for financial literacy. It's same for a lot
emotional
of
literacy, financial literacy. It's all of those things. I think
shouldn't have to be in crisis to get that.
Right, absolutely. It should be early intervention. And I think that's a lot of what you do. So
it's a good segue, isn't it?
That you can come in at that point.
So is this where you come in terms of the work that you're doing? Is that to address that gap, or give us some more context?
Yeah, we try, I call it upstream work. So we try and do the really early stuff. Can we sort of
Desmond Tutu. Yeah. Someone's got to fix the bridge.
Yeah, exactly. Like, can we take strain off sort of NHS services and school services? So we work with quite a wide demographic of people in schools, and it's up to the schools how they choose the individuals that work with us. And it's generally done in a group format. So I've worked with groups where I'm almost going in and teaching in a PSHE lesson. So I'm taking over the lesson, so I teach to 30. Or I get given a group of 6 that are sporty lads that probably need a little bit of support, but then I also get kids that are on wellbeing waiting lists in school. So kind of the school actually see it as an opportunity to, can we give them some support? Can we sort of help them a little bit with their mental health, and try and give them the tools really to be able to support themselves and support each other. It's kind of one of the main focuses of the programme now. Nice. Can we get them to actually acknowledge any changes in their mates and go, are you okay? Are you okay? And have confidence to do that. Which
allows community to take place, right? You're building, you know, it's allyship is you're breeding culture is what you're trying. Is that right? That's the aim of the game here.
Pretty much that, and a combination of self-awareness. Pretty much, yeah. Make myself redundant.
That's the best way for any charity to think, I think. Yeah, fantastic. And what's your context? Why do you do this work?
Like lived experiences. So my background isn't necessarily in mental health. So I went to uni and did PE. So I went to uni to be a PE teacher. So very much always been like schools based. But when I was 17, there was a young lad that I went to school with, sort of took his own life and sort of had his struggles. And actually, you look at his lifestyle, no one would have expected that. He was very much sort of out of the blue for people that weren't sort of really close to him. From the outside looking in, it was really prominent. And then going to uni, having my own struggles while I was at uni, it feels like there was a massive gap. Why have I not had this education before? Why is this not something that we're taught in school? It felt like a huge gap that needed addressing. Sort of the opportunity. So I used to teach Mind Your Head when I was at the foundation previously. Left the foundation, and then this role came up, and I was like, actually, I loved teaching it. I loved educating young people. I loved supporting young people. Now let's go and run it.
Nice.
Let's go and run it and sort of take it forward.
Love that. How do we all feel about, where is our optimism in all of this? We talked earlier about this awareness, but we see the stat, it's everywhere right now, and I set up an organisation called Inspired to Ignite 3 or 4 years ago when no one knew what was NEAT. No one knew that term. Now, when labelling that there's 1 million 16 and 24-year-olds that are not in education and employment training in the UK, it's everywhere. Awareness has been achieved. How do we feel as we've all got skin in the game here in terms of the work we do? Are we optimistic? How generally are we feeling about this as a topic right now? And be honest, we're in a safe space.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of hope. You shared that lived experience piece, and I have that lived experience piece, and through learning those tools that helped me through that mental health challenge, I now carry those with me for the rest of my life, and that is the hope that I have for the young people, is that they're not tools and support that you experience and then you forget about them. They're something that you can utilise on a daily basis and that you can practice, and once you know them and you've learnt them, then you can carry them with you for the rest of your life. So that's where my hope comes from.
Nice.
That as long as they have access to that information and that they can, hear these conversations and have these words in their vocabulary and know how to, approach these conversations, talk about it, ask for help, utilise the tools, and they can carry that with them for the rest of their life, and maybe give back to other people as well. So
That's coming back to community development and building community health is when you get to a situation where we're happy to share, and it's the second anyone seen the video with the dancer, and it was at a festival, the guy got up dancing, he was dancing away on his own, everyone was like, look at him, then another person went and then another person went, and next thing you know, you got a party. You know, you need that. It's almost just as important. So it's great to have, you're all leaders in this space and doing the work you do, but it's when that second person or the person that's come through one of your programs that then stays to. I mean, Sam Squire is a great example. He was obviously at the foundation, now CEO of Inspired to Ignite, and he was a volunteer youth worker. And then you see that kind of knock-on effect. I mean, that gives me hope.
And it's one of the 5 ways to well-being, isn't it? It's like giving back to other people. That helps that young person have a sense of purpose and identity. I've been through this challenge, and that was horrendous, but I can now give back to help other people, and in doing that gives me purpose as well.
And you're speaking from the scar, right? You're not. I think that sometimes can be, it's understanding when you're in a situation where you can do that, because sometimes it can be too raw, too soon.
Of course. Choosing the right time.
Yeah, of course. What about you? Do you have any perspective on this?
I mean, I think similar to Britt, I mean, the hope, it just comes if you're working in a mental health charity, just see all the time like the positive effects or the positive stories that can come out, and there is hope. There is a better future for people, and it's not sort of all hopeless, particularly on the individual level. I don't think we should underestimate the scale of the problem, of course, and financial issues have been brought up, and this is for young people. This often tops it's usually the number one reason for poor mental health.
Finance.
So living costs, precarious and expensive accommodation, precarious employment structures. We see much higher mental health challenges for individuals from low incomes, and that side isn't looking too good. However, not only is there greater awareness, we are now seeing much more, I think, more seriousness by governments, and then lots of charities and moving in this space. So the Labour said they wanted to take mental health as seriously as physical health, which is kind of a new statement to kind of make. We want to now see that reflected in funding.
I was going to say, was there a mental? I'm not sure there was a mention of that in the budget.
No. The budget.
But we are seeing it sort of coming up, as even to talk like that is fantastic, compared to like 20 years ago. So with long-term things put in, hopefully we'll see a reduction. We'll see a better future for people. But,
okay.
And
I think there's what I'm feeling and seeing in the community at the moment is I actually feel like there's an unhealthy impatience now. Sorry, a healthy impatience, not an unhealthy impatience. It may get to an unhealthy impatience if we're not careful. But I, as a social entrepreneur, as someone who builds community infrastructure, I think about, okay, great, government, yeah, you should, but what's stopping us? Really, what's stopping the community from getting on with it anyway? That's what collaboration and community is all about. And if you can build a sense of safety and agency in communities, look at COVID, look what happened during that time. We just started checking on our neighbours, and we just started looking after each other. And I go for walks with some young people every week. Like there's a couple of young people in the hub now that I just walk with them. I'm not a professional, but I can hold space for someone, and I think everyone has an opportunity to do that. And I think sometimes we can be, as a society, we can be a little bit too reliant on the kind of legitimate powers or the ones that are gifted that level of power, when actually if our community needs us to do something, we need to get on with do it. And I think that's where organisations like Mind are brilliant, because you're an anchor institute in all this conversation. Like say you've got these kind of spin-off opportunities with the foundation, stuff that we're doing, the Citizen Hub and whatnot. We have the power to solve this problem, and I genuinely feel like that's the case. And if you think about the work you're doing, and seeing that over time, and you forecast that impact over time, those young people are going to go to college, they're going to go to university, they're going to go back into their communities, and they're going to spread that awareness and look after each other over time. That does have a ripple effect.
Yeah, we were just talking before the podcast, actually, and you were saying you're not only helping to support those individuals, but encouraging them to look out for them, each other, you know, be sort of a network for each other in the school, which is just, amazing.
Yeah. Can we build a culture where, particularly lads, like that's, as a male, like I think that's where I talk from a little bit more, like, can we build an environment where you can put your arm around your mate and go, like, give him a little side cuddle and go, "Are you all right?"
Yeah.
And like, actually, can we find the right time to do that? It's probably not between lessons, but actually, if you walk home with them, like, can you just give them that space to be like, "Are you okay? What's going on?"
Yeah.
So can we build that confidence? And where we want to go into, ideally, go back into the same schools. So the schools are in this year, go in again next year, go in again the year after, and that's when you try and almost get that cultural change within the school as well. So we're not able to reach everybody. We were speaking before about funding and sort of the amount of students we're able to support and access. But actually, if you work with, over 3 years, you've got 3 lots of year 8 groups have gone through your program.
Yeah, brilliant.
By then, that first cohort are then in year 10, year 11.
Yeah.
So you kind of got that cultural change.
You're correct, and you're giving them permission to spread that kind of that message as well.
Yeah.
And have you seen already how their sort of response to what you're bringing to them has evolved and changed over time? Like when you first brought that as an idea, what was their response, and like how has it?
It's really hard with what we do because we're kind of in and out for it. We're go in for an hour and then leave and then go to another school. Right. So we don't get to see loads of that change on the ground. But early in the programme, when you throw an idea like that out there, like put your arm around your mate and check in, like some of the boys particularly look at you and go, what? But then you kind of deep dive over the course of the programme, you're like, okay, there's different ways that we can do it. Physical touch for some people is horrendous. So don't. But then actually it's a bit of, we give them a lot of time for self-awareness and go, actually, what's the impact for you? And sort of give them, they have a workbook, they can write stuff down, they can be private within that. I don't look at it. So it's hard to see the change, but where we do pre and post questionnaires and sort of gather that data, we see that the percentage changes in confidence in supporting themselves and recognising changes and things like that. So
it's interesting.
Positive.
I think what's interesting, so we get them when we're right on the edge of society. Inspire to Ignite as an organisation, we engage about 10,000 16 and 24-year-olds across this area every year. But it's usually the last resort. Like I can tell you now, I won't mention their exact role because it's not fair to do so, but someone extremely senior within our kind of local authorities in this space, they reach out to us to help their own family, and they've got complete visibility on the entire system, and we're not in it. So which for me is a little bit worrying. We're always happy to say yes. We'll always say yes. We don't have any services. We're a community. We do get to see these people from 16 to 24. I remember seeing, there's a couple of examples. There's one young lad who won't mind me mentioning, but I won't mention names just for safeguarding perspective. But he was selective mute 2 years ago. Told by his doctor, probably won't speak again. He spoke on stage in front of 1,000 people last summer, and we haven't, and that's come through patience and holding space, and where required, where there's been need some interventions. Of course, there's been some interventions, mentorship and support. I think of other examples of our partnerships manager Ollie. He was literally just turned up here one day, started volunteering, just never left. Like literally just wouldn't leave. He just loved it. It was really interesting.
It's getting to be a problem.
Yeah. Well, you have to employ him eventually. But it was really nice because what you saw, again, we're quite good, I think, at just pushing them out that boundary. Not too far. I was a 14-year-old father. When you become a 14-year-old father, you don't have a choice to wait. You have to figure things out, right? You don't. Can't just go. Just hold on a minute. I've just got to sort myself out. You just have to get on with it, and sometimes that is the circumstance that you're in. That isn't. It's uncomfortable, but a little bit of uncomfort is good for growth. As long as like say, you got the toolkits, you know where to go if you fall down. So we try to create these moments for young people to put themselves out, themselves do it. And I remember Ollie, who's now a partnerships manager, he's doing very well. I remember, and he won't mind me sharing this, I remember his first day of going out doing his sales, right? He was in that kitchen, I clocked him, he was pacing up and down, and he was sweating like crazy, he just wasn't going to go. And I kind of clocked him, and he saw me look at him, and he got to the front door of the hub, and it started raining. And in that moment, I see him check himself, and he went. It was a sign for him that he should go. And I said to him then, that moment right there, that you chose, you had every opportunity in that moment to put your coat back down, put your umbrella down the side and go back, oh, no, it's raining, I can't do that. He saw that as a sign that, and it's when you see those little moments in young people that you can then build on that, and you can remind them of that and go through some reflection, get your journal out, let's talk about it, let's unpack that, how much of a moment and even to this day, he will talk about that as a defining moment for him. It didn't have to be a moment, but we try to find those things.
Those glimmers.
Yeah.
I think we hear the word triggers so often, and that's really important for young people to know their triggers. But we also encourage finding those glimmers. Like, what are those moments that, remind you of joy or help you wake up in the morning or give you some reason to have purpose or make you feel stable? Like, what are those glimmers? And let's look for those as well as the triggers.
Oh, I like this language, glimmers. I haven't heard that before.
That sounds like exactly what Ollie found. Like, there was that glimmer there, and you noticed that, and you saw that, and you allowed that to be a thing and grow.
Yeah, I love that.
And I think that story that you described there is particularly powerful because you provided that space for him to be understood and listened to and heard before that happened anyway. And I think, like you were saying before about all these systems that are in place and all of these services, I think young people can get really lost in that and not know how to navigate this field of support and, like, where do I go to? And then when they're met with all of these, like, really harsh tick boxes, all they really need is to be understood and listened to. And I think that applies to the support that they often need from their teachers and their parents. It's like they don't necessarily need a fix right there and then. They just want to be listened to and understood because they're not really understanding themselves at that time, of course. Like, we didn't understand ourselves, and it's a constant journey. But particularly at that age, they just want to be heard and not try to be fixed or...
We're not all broken, right?
Right, yeah.
There's an amazing woman who I'm one of her biggest fans, a lady called Danielle Bridge. She's the CEO of Black Minds Matter. She's local to Cambridgeshire as well. And she's got this fantastic clip that was circulating Instagram recently talking about the life epidemic. And I think this is so applicable to young people right now. If you are an 18-year-old today, right, which I would not want to be. I've got a 22-year-old son. I would not want to be in this situation for every reason you talk about, right? So, cost of living, which usually means both parents are probably working. If you've got both parents around, they're probably not there. So your social capital is already stripped immediately. Cost of transport, access to public transport, the social welfare system's not in a good place right now. Access to education is quite narrow. The employment market's not looking good. That's a life epidemic. So that, of course, that young person is not going to be in a good place mentally. Doesn't mean they're broken. Maybe we should try and fix the transport or the social infrastructure or help them increase their opportunities for gathering social capital. Because otherwise, all you're doing is trying to fix a symptom. And it can't be, I don't think, from all of my context and what I see with the work that Sam's doing and Inspired to Ignite are doing, it can't be that every person is broken. It can't. I'm sorry. We've got to find a way to build the environment, the cultures, the infrastructure to enable people to thrive in their own rights. And I don't think we're in a situation yet. I mean, youth infrastructure in the UK, I don't know the exact data on this, but I know that 20 years ago, we were spending more than $1 billion a year on youth infrastructure. That's youth hubs, that's youth workers. Today, it's less than 400 million a year.
Yeah, it's gone down by 75% since 2010.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's an absolute. It is an absolute travesty. And I think it's probably, if I look at a country and I think about the best way to measure whether, because it ain't GDP, it's what is the opportunity you're creating for the next generation. And I think, those in power, to your point earlier, they need to take this stuff really seriously. And they need to think, because you'll lose your generation. Last year, there were double the people that turned the age of 75 that were 21. We've got a massive aging population. Young people, my advice to most young people right now, if you can, leave. Go get your economic opportunity. If the country you live in isn't providing you the economic opportunity that you need, leave. I'm pro-immigration. Great. I'm all for it. We provide a lot of opportunity to the world. People come here for that opportunity. If we're not going to provide opportunity for young people, good, go get it. And we shouldn't be saying that. I set up a youth, but it's true. Well, why you don't stay? If you're in a bad situation at home, and you have the opportunity to get out of that situation, get out. Why is it not the same for young people? So what have we got to do from our collective perspectives to show young people and tell young people that they're valued, that they're heard, and we're here to support them and show them that there is a future that they should be proud of in this country. I think there's the sort of questions that I'd hope our national leaders are talking about. Whether they are or not, we'll find out in budgets and whatnot. So side by side, right? So this podcast is all called Side by Side. So in the context of the world you operate in and your frame of reference, where you finish, what do you wish could exist beyond what you do now? So you talk at the start with yourself. You were talking about the fact that you spend an hour with these people. What happens after that? Do you if in a world where you can write the budget, don't put a pound sign against it just yet because you'll ask for too little. But what do you wish was side by side your service?
I want the young people to be side by side with each other. I think is like the way to lean into that. I think from my perspective, like be there for each other, support each other. In the content, like Simon Sinek talks about, people need 8 minutes to feel valued and heard. You're not going to solve someone's problem in 8 minutes, but actually that gives someone a sense of worth, a sense of belonging, a sense of value. 8 minutes. Like, who doesn't have 8 minutes in a day? And we talk to the young people about, like, if you've only got 10 minutes, tell the person you're talking to you've got 10 minutes. So then you're not sat there clock watching. They know you've got 10 minutes. So I'm happy to pick this conversation up if you need more time later on. At the moment, I've got 10 minutes for you. Can we sort of create that culture? That's what I want to leave.
Love that.
When I don't go into a school anymore, like that's what I want that to be. That's what I want that environment to look like.
Beautiful. Love that. That's great. Love that. Yeah. Okay. Side by side.
Side by side, I think
Your 8 weeks. Just give them a bit more explanation. When you work with these young people, you're with them for 8 weeks. Is that right?
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Yeah, 6 weeks post discharge from another crisis service. Would love that to be longer if we were funded more. And I know that's often the feedback we get. And just specifically, we don't specifically work with young people, but I see 18 to 25, but I see all the way up to, I had a client who's 94 recently. But yeah, what I would love them to carry with them after the support is what I mentioned earlier, circling back to that they carry the tools that they have learned through the support with them for the rest of their life, and therefore use that to support other people as well. They're tools that can stay with them forever, and that self-awareness piece, we all need that, but we're not really taught how to do that. I think often we're really scared of our thoughts and our feelings and we want to run away from them. But I like to encourage the young people to learn to sit with them, acknowledge them, journal, talk to your friends about them, because they tell us a lot. Like, our emotions and our thoughts are informative. So yeah, to carry all of that.
Love that.
And the glimmers.
The glimmers. Oh, that's sticking with me. That's sticking with me. I really like that. That's nice. Okay, great. What about yourself?
So I'm in the addiction space with supporting people stop smoking, and our program is there's a 12-week one and there's a 20-week one, which is already quite a lot more than what the standard service on offer, which is amazing. Honestly, though, I would like to sort of see more support even further than that, if wanted, or if not, setting up support or making sure that there's a long-term space for them, because addiction is it's a lifetime, and there's been a bit of a fixation, I think, on doing a 4-week quit, and these are what kind of the normal stats you would see, and I think that's looking for a short-term solution to a long-term kind of problem. I just love listening to Britt. We don't use the language of glimmer, but we should.
We're all
because yeah, exactly the same. Just creating a space for someone in a session where finding solutions. It's not about us telling you'll be able to stop smoking if you go for a run. Okay, like it's not about that.
Cool story, bro.
Yeah. But yeah, just making sure we're sort of taking it seriously as a long-term thing and not looking for easy short-term solutions.
Nice. I think my reflections on this, when I think about side by side, is around that what you were saying about, wouldn't it be wonderful if we lived in a world where you can assume that someone else is going to put that oxygen mask on for you? The sayings of, the old saying is, put your own oxygen mask on before you help someone else. I don't think that society allows us to be in a situation where we can just be selfish right now. I think that the current economic situation, everything that's going on in our society, in Cambridgeshire in particular, I think we have to be a bit more open to finding ways to only manage to get through this together. And I think that's a good thing. I think we're tribal, and I think for me, I'd love to see all of this amazing work that you're all doing, and congratulations, by the way. What you all do is incredible. It's really important. I want to see that side by side with communities putting their own oxygen masks on and looking out for each other. I think that for me is the most important thing in life, because it doesn't even have to end there, right? To your point, like with these, and all of you with your services, yes, you want to work with them even more, but we often say here, some people come here for crisis, and then they're in crisis, and that's fine. But we always remind them, we want you to stay. We want you to stay. I bet some of our best volunteers here are people that came here in a really dark place and are now an absolute beacon of light for the rest of the community, and because that lived experience they've carried. So for me, what I'd love to see alongside all of what the amazing work you're all doing is a culture shift towards, by default, look to put oxygen masks on other people. I think that would be a lovely place to be. I appreciate all of your time and your glimmers. We'll put details for all of the context that's shared in this, in the footnotes on this episode. And thank you very much.